The mermaid tied to the tree lifted her hand, tears sliding down her cheeks. "Please help me. They will sell me," she whispered, voice shaking like dry leaves. Amanda's knees turned to water. Every part of her said run. But those wide, sorrowful eyes held her still. Hunter's laughter drifted closer, boots crunching the undergrowth. One heartbeat, one breath. Let's dive into the story. Kindly like, subscribe, and comment below where you're watching from. Amanda balanced a clay pot on her head and walked toward the river before sunrise. The cool mist touched her cheeks, and the dew on the grass wet her bare feet. She chose this hour because the path was quiet, no gossiping neighbors, no children splashing water, just birds waking up and frogs croaking in the bush. Amanda was a widow, living in a one-room mud hut at the edge of a Joa village. She had 2 children, Dara and Kemi, and not enough money to feed them well. Each morning she fetched water, pounded cassava, and prayed the roof would not leak when the heavy rains came. That morning felt like any other until she filled her pot, lifted it onto her head, and decided to take the shorter bush track home. Halfway along the narrow path, she heard deep voices and loud laughter. 3 hunters leaned against a mango tree, rifles on their shoulders, leather bags full of traps hanging at their sides. Amanda greeted them politely, "Good morning," and kept walking, but their talk floated after her like smoke. "Ah, we are rich now," one hunter bragged. "I still can't believe we caught that captured mermaid near the river last night." Another slapped his thigh. "The big man in the city will pay anything for her. Mermaid scales bring plenty money." Amanda's heart jumped. A mermaid? Caught by hunters? She hurried on, but their words stuck in her ears. She reached a fork in the path and slipped behind the tall bamboo, hoping to avoid the men completely. As she stepped through the grass, a small cry reached her, weak, shaky, and full of fear. "Help, please! Someone help me!" Amanda froze, set her heavy pot on the ground, and listened. The cry came again. She moved toward a bunch of bamboo shoots and peeked through the green stems. A young woman, no, not a woman, something else, was tied to a thick tree trunk. Her wrists were wrapped with rough rope, her long, wet hair stuck to her cheeks, and tears rolled down her face. But what made Amanda gasp was the silver tail where legs should be. Scales shone faintly even in the dim light. The hunters had spoken true. A real mermaid, captured, helpless. "Please," the mermaid whispered, lifting a trembling hand. "They will come back. They will sell me. Help me." Amanda's first thought was to run. Every village story warned that mermaids lured people to watery graves. But the creature before her did not look dangerous. She looked frightened. Amanda looked around, no hunters in sight. Yet the rope at the mermaid's tail and wrists was thick and tight, tied by men who knew knots. Are you real?" Amanda asked, voice small. "Yes," the mermaid breathed. "My name is Lyra. Let me go." Amanda's legs shook. She heard distant footsteps, maybe hunters returning. She stepped closer and touched the rope. The knot scraped her fingers and fear pounded in her chest. Should she risk her life for a being she didn't understand? Lyra's eyes, dark and full of pleading, answered her. Amanda pulled at the knot. It barely moved. She worked faster, nails digging, sweat starting to bead on her forehead. Voices drifted nearer. "Let's check on the catch," a hunter said. Amanda's pulse thumped. She whispered, "Someone's coming." She ducked behind a fallen log, keeping low, and watched. The hunter's boots crushed leaves. One laughed about selling scales by the bag. Then, out of nowhere, a loud rustle burst in the bushes. An antelope sprang across the trail. The nearest hunter shouted, "Game!" All three turned and ran, guns raised, forgetting the mermaid for the moment. Amanda let out a long breath. This was her chance. She hurried back to Lyra, fingers flying. The rope loosened around one wrist, then the other. The knot at the tail still held. She pulled, twisted, tugged. At last it slipped free. Lyra sagged, weak but hopeful. "Can you move?" Amanda asked. "Not fast," Lyra whispered. "My tail is numb." Amanda looked at the heavy pot on the ground. She could not carry both water and Mermaid. She tipped the pot, spilling the water onto the soil, and rolled it aside. Then she bent, placed Lyra's arm over her shoulder, and lifted. Lyra was heavy, scales slick, tail long. Amanda's knees almost buckled, but she steadied herself and shuffled toward the narrow path leading to her hut. Every few steps she paused to rest. The morning sun began to rise, turning the leaves gold. Birds grew louder. Amanda knew the village would soon wake, and if anyone saw them, questions would follow. She pushed on, breath rough, heart loud in her ears. By the time they reached her hut on the village edge, Amanda's wrapper clung wet to her skin. She eased the door open with her foot, slid inside, and lowered Lyra onto the woven mat. Dara and Kemi still slept, small bodies curled under thin cloths. Amanda's hands shook as she fetched a cloth and wiped sweat from Lyra's brow. "Thank you," Lyra said, voice rough. "Rest," Amanda whispered. "I'll get warm water." She lit a small fire outside and set a pot to heat. As she waited, she pictured the hunters finding their catch gone. They would search. They might go door to door. She swallowed fear and carried the warm water inside, bathing the rope marks on Lyra's wrist. "My scales will heal," Lyra said softly. "But we must be careful. Hunters track well." Quick pause, friends. If you're feeling the tension, tap like and subscribe to Midnight Africana so you never miss a new tale. Now back to the story. A hard knock hit the door. Amanda's breath caught. She pressed a finger to her lips and signaled Lyra to stay quiet. She opened the door a crack. Outside stood Mama Kosi, the village gossip, hands on her hips. "Amanda," Mama Kosi said, eyes narrowing, "why is your pot lying empty on the path? I saw it when I went for herbs." Amanda forced a smile. "It slipped from my head. I needed a rest." Mama Kosi stretched her neck, trying to see inside. "Who's in there?" I hear whispers. "No one." Amanda shifted to block the view. Mama Kosi sniffed. Well, I came to borrow pepper. Give me quickly." Amanda kept the door mostly closed, fetched a small dish of dried pepper, and handed it out. Mama Kosi leaned again, eyes sharp. "Something smells fishy," she muttered, then laughed at her own joke. "I will return to check on you." Amanda nodded, forced another smile, and shut the door. Her heart hammered. She turned to Lyra. "The village is small. News travels fast. We have to keep you hidden until you can reach the river again." Lyra nodded. 7 nights, she whispered. "By the 7th night, my strength will return with the tide. I can swim home." Amanda's stomach tightened. Could she hide the mermaid for a whole week? That afternoon, Dara and Kemi woke. Kemi rubbed her eyes and saw the strange woman on the mat. "Mama, who is that?" she whispered. Amanda pulled her children aside. She explained that Lyra was special, in danger, and needed their help. Dara's eyes grew wide at the sight of the tale. "A real mermaid?" Kemi gasped, half scared, half amazed. Amanda made them promise silence. The children nodded, though worry lingered in their eyes. Days crawled. Amanda kept Lyra hidden, drawing the old curtain across the doorway whenever footsteps passed. She fed Lyra small portions of yam and greens, and Lyra's strength slowly returned. Every evening the hunters roamed the village, asking about the missing creature. They described the rope, the spot, the spilled water pot. Amanda kept her face calm when they questioned her, saying she had been pounding cassava all morning. The hunters left, unconvinced but with no proof. On the 5th day, Mama Cozy barged in before Amanda could block her. Cozy's eyes swept the room. Lyra lay hidden under a pile of cloth in the darkest corner. Cozy stared, but saw only shadows and Amanda's wide-eyed children. "What are you hiding, eh?" Cozy asked. "Nothing, Mama," Amanda said, voice steady. "I am busy with chores." Cozy sniffed again, tapped a foot. Lyra held her breath. At last Cozy shrugged. "If you say so, but secrets in this village never stay buried." She went out. Amanda shut the door, leaned against it, and sighed in relief. Night of the 7th day came. The moon was full and bright, throwing silver across the hut. Lyra sat up, tail shining stronger than before. "The tide is high tonight," she said softly. "I can swim home." Amanda woke Dara and Kemi. She wrapped a large cloth around Lyra, covering the tail. With Dara's help, she lifted Lyra onto her back, like a mother carrying a heavy child. They slipped through the sleeping village dark huts. Silent goats, crickets chirped, frogs croaked. At the riverbank, Amanda set Lyra down on the soft sand. The water shone under the moon like glass. "Thank you," Lyra breathed. "Your kindness saved me." Amanda's eyes filled. "I was scared, but I couldn't leave you." Lyra touched Amanda's cheek. "In 7 days you will understand what kindness brings." She slid into the water. As soon as her tail touched the river, it shone bright blue. She turned, waved, and with a flick, disappeared. The ripples faded to calm. Amanda and her children stared at the quiet water, then walked home, hearts light but unsure what would come. 7 nights later, Amanda woke to a soft humming outside her hut. She lit a palm oil lamp and stepped out. 3 gold-rimmed chests sat by the doorway, shining in the glow. She gasped. Dara and Kemi rushed to her side. Amanda touched one chest. It was solid. She opened it. Inside were coils of gold necklaces, coral beads, and silver coins. She opened the second, more treasures. Carved bone combs, bracelets bright as sunrise. The third chest held smooth pearls the size of beans. Amanda's breath caught. She remembered Lyra's words. No note appeared, but Amanda knew who left the gifts. She carried the chests inside, heart pounding with thanks and wonder. The next weeks changed everything. Amanda sold a few coral beads quietly in the town market. The money bought a sturdy new roof, fresh clothes for Dara and Kemi, and food for months. Villagers noticed the sudden change. Mama Cozy cornered Amanda one morning. "How did a poor widow become so fine overnight?" she asked. Amanda smiled. Kindness always comes back, she said, repeating her new truth. Rumours flew some, said Amanda, found buried treasure. Others claimed a spirit blessed her, Amanda never told. At night she sat outside, looking toward the river, whispering thanks to Lyra. Meanwhile, the hunters grumbled. They never found their mermaid, and no buyer paid them. Their pockets stayed empty, and they left the village, muttering about bad luck and stolen prey. Amanda's life blossomed. She opened a small shop selling cloth and dried fish. She rebuilt her mud hut into a larger house with 3 rooms. Dara and Kemi went to school, faces bright with hope. Yet Amanda stayed humble. She remembered the fear in Lyra's eyes and the weight of that silver tail on her shoulders. One quiet evening, months later, Amanda sat on a wooden bench outside her house. The moon shone on the river in the distance. A soft splash reached her. At first, she thought it was a fish. Then, near the shore, she saw a flash of silver. A figure surfaced, long hair, shining tail, then dipped below again. Amanda smiled, tears in her eyes. "Thank you, Lyra," she whispered. The river stayed calm, but Amanda felt an answer, like a gentle wave touching shore. Word of Amanda's success travelled far. Travellers passing through Ajoa village stopped to hear the tale of the widow who became wealthy. Some asked her secret. Amanda simply said, "Always help those in need. You never know where your kindness will lead." Dara and Kemi grew up hearing that lesson. They fetched water for neighbours, shared bread with hungry children, and greeted strangers with smiles. Whenever they passed the river, they watched for silver flashes, remembering the night their mother risked everything for a captured mermaid. Years later, when Dara spoke at the opening of a school Amanda funded for village girls, she told the crowd, "My mother showed us kindness returns like the river's tide. The more you pour out, the more flows back." People clapped, some wiping eyes. Amanda, sitting in the front row, felt her heart swell. She thought of the hunter's cruel laughter, the rough rope, and her shaking fingers working the knots. That single moment of courage changed her life, her children's futures, and maybe even the village itself. She had done nothing grand, only chosen compassion over fear. That choice became treasure no thief could steal, shining brighter each time she shared her story. And on nights when the moon rose full and the river shone silver, Amanda still walked to the water's edge. She sat on a smooth rock, toes in the cool current, and listened. Sometimes she heard distant singing, soft, clear, almost human, almost not. And she smiled, knowing somewhere in the deep water a mermaid remembered the day a poor widow untied a rope and changed both their destinies forever.